I'll give you one more name that I think is probably off a lot of people's radar that I think is going to be a key person this year. And it's totally a show me year for this person. Sadiq Charles has to not only win the job, but be good, because I think we all know that I feel like the offensive line has been upgraded, and I do think it's going to be better. And I do think that they have some young depth, which I like. And I do think that there's a possibility that they're pretty good. I'm not going to go so far as to call them a strength, but I do think that they could be pretty good. That said, the left side starting wise, the left side of the line, if he does not perform well, could become a major liability. If he becomes the starter that they thought he could be for a few years and are now giving him the opportunity to be right now, I think it's going to answer a lot of questions in terms of protection for them. So there is a lot on, in my opinion, on him being everything they said he's going to be for a couple of years. And hopefully he'll step up and be that for them.
Got to stay healthy for him.
Yes.
That's the number one key for him, is stay healthy. I think when you're in and out of the lineup and you can't stay healthy and all that, you probably also lose some confidence. And I think you can see that play out in some situations. So if the more he's in there, I think that's why they've given him every rep with the starters this spring, is because you start with rebuilding that confidence back up and keeping him healthy. But are you that? Because I know, like last year, you sounded alarms. I always felt the line depth was better last year, but the starting group we had questions about. And it turns out there was good reason for that. You were hammered that all off season. You think this group is better?
Yes.
How so? Tell me.
Undoubtedly.
And I'm going to agree with that. They're better, but let me say this.
Undoubtedly.
Not so much are they better. How much better? Is it enough better?
That's open question. Again, I put it this
there's
way.
No Trey Turner.
I don't think at this point it's their strength. And I don't think anybody would call it that. But last year I walked in going, this is going to be a weakness. And I hope I'm wrong, but it's going to be a weakness. Mm-hmm. And I think they're relying on people they shouldn't be relying on just because of tread on the tires, injury history, all of that stuff. I don't know how I don't know how they feel confident doing this. Sam Cosmi, I feel like, will be better as a guard. I don't know that he's going to be, but I think if he gets comfortable in that position and can stay healthy, I think they're going to figure out a way to use his athleticism. He can move. So I actually like him as a right guard over right tackle. I trust Andrew Wiley is an upgrade at that position for them. So that being the case, I like the right side of the line and I'm optimistic about it. I love Gates. I said this from the second that they signed him. I loved what I saw on tape from him when he came back from his injuries for the Giants. I think he's an animal. I think he's exactly what they need. And everything that I've seen so far, from the way he interacts with Hal, the way he's interacting in practice, he's an all-in type of guy. So I love him. And hopefully he'll stay healthy. I think he is a solid upgrade for them. And I feel good about center now that Larson's back and they have somebody in development behind them. The left side of the line is where I am concerned. And that's why I said Sadiq Charles is a huge part of all of this. If he steps up and is what they said they think he's going to be, then I think that they're in pretty good shape. Again, I'm not pretending that they have Pro Bowlers on the outside protecting the quarterback, but this looks to be way better than what it was. And they have some prospects behind them. They have a guy like Chris Paul that they think might be able to play potentially two positions. We'll see. They've got this center in development. They drafted another, guard / tackle in Daniels. I think there's possibilities here. And there are a couple of guys that on the backside of it, like this, what is his name? King Blue. He's been there for a couple of years. He's fast. He's really fast. Can he play the position at the level they need him to? I don't know, but he's extremely athletic. Mm-hmm. So all I'm saying is I think they have a decent group. Last year, I was nervous they had a group that was going to fall apart, which it did. This year, I don't feel like without, bad luck, with injuries, that it's going to fall apart. And I do see more of an upside of what's there. I'm not pretending that's the Eagles or the Lions offensive line or the Falcons offensive line. I don't think it is, but I do think it's one I trust a lot more. That's the way I'd put it. I trust it a lot more. I just don't think at this point, prove me wrong that it's a strength. I don't think that it's a strength, but I also don't think it's an enormous weakness that could crumble the whole thing anymore.
The one thing I wish they had been able to go get a tackle and maybe shift Wiley and have Wiley Cosmi guard combo. then I'd feel a lot better about it because we don't know. The other thing that there's a couple other things with that too. You know, and I agree with that. I think that Cosme will be better inside. How does the scheme help this line?
Yeah.
And if, you know, Howell has some more mobility than Carson Wentz, how does that help? How does a quick decision making help?
Yeah.
You know, like all those things can factor into helping the line. I mean, shoot, against Dallas last year, when you go back and watch some of the highlights with Howell, wasn't like he had all this great protection. He was making good decisions and quick decisions. Yeah. Now you're going to face things along the way. Like the more film on there, the more they're going to try and do things that take certain things away. We all get that. But I think that's something to factor in, and how much can that help them, and maybe setting things up better play action. You know, the play action that they've used in the past, just using play action isn't enough. You can't just say, well, we ran play action. Was it effective play action?
Yeah.
Are you selling it? Does it look like one of your runs? And if it doesn't, then it's BS. And I think that was too often in the past that you'd get some of that. And so all that stuff, I just wonder about the impact. How much of an impact will it make? And so I still wonder about the line. I think it is one of their areas of whether it's concern or wonder, I guess. You know, where is it at? And you know, we probably won't know for a while. But the other thing, Bram, too, one thing that is a little bit this is not a concern, but you have a 3rd round pick in Stromberg and a 4th round pick in Daniels, who, if all goes well, will not play this year. And like, you know,
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Do you have a problem with that? Why do people have a problem with that?
Well, I have
that's how you build a good roster. Like, what?
I want to say this, like, if you're a 3rd round pick, you know, and now here's the thing. He's really like, they needed to get a young center. We know that. And they were burned by not having a healthy center combo the last few years. Went south because of it. So they've got their young guy, and it's a great insurance policy, and you can develop him. And at some point he will be their starter. Daniels is a project. And I think my own belief is that ultimately he'll be a guard, but you know, he's got athleticism, try him at tackle, see what he can do. And, you know, if he can't do it this year, if you see like, okay, you can always put him inside because you know he's got some athleticism. He's got stuff he's got to work out. And I talked about this on the podcast on after the 3rd day of minicamp. But I do wonder about that. Like, you know, ideally you'd like to have those guys contribute in some way, but we don't know. Like if Gates gets hurt and Stromberg goes in, you can say, hey, that was a great pick.
Yeah.
Because you got, you know, so
yeah,
there is good. And he does provide really good
criticisms of they drafted these 2 guys and they're not slated in to start. And like,
not even slated to start. They may not play.
They're going to make the team. Like, what do you, he's a 4th round pick. Like, what do you, he wasn't a 1st round pick. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, that's how you build a good roster when you have this kind of depth. You pick these guys and they're in line to either take the place of somebody who gets priced out because of salary cap stuff or just gets better than them at the time. I mean, like, that's building a good roster. John, this thing, I know what the national media is saying about them. I don't believe that this is a bad season that's coming here.
No.
Outside of, there could be a lot of noise with transitions that I think could get in their way, which is a totally different topic and I hope doesn't happen, right? Like, I'm trying to focus on what they have in front of them. And I got to tell you, the roster I look at right now is not one that is going to be bad. Like, no. They have multiple potential Pro Bowlers on offense and definitively multiple potential Pro Bowlers on defense. And to all of this discussion of like, they have this kind of fortifying and this fortifying and this fortifying, they scream as a team that's going to pick a left tackle with their 1st round pick next year, or they're going to, because they have a lot of cap room, spend money on the whoever great left tackle is that hits the open market. And then it's going to be off to the races if everything goes well, which is a giant if because of all of the things that are kind of hovering over the franchise, which Ron Rivera openly talked about. He is hoping the NFL gets this deal solidified sooner rather than later because he needs to get in front of the ownership and explain where they are, where they've been, what money they want to spend now, how they're thinking about the next couple of years, and he needs them to buy into it, and it better happen soon. Otherwise, we just end up into a season. They go with what they go with, and then we'll see how it plays out, and then there could be a lot of changes that get in the way of this. My point is this. I see what Rivera is saying in terms of they are close in terms of a roster of putting something out there that I think is extremely competitive, contingent on Sam Howell being what they're saying that he's going to be. He doesn't have to be Mahomes or Allen, but he's got to be Cousins, bare minimum. And if he can become that for them, they have a tremendous amount of flexibility to make a good roster great. If he's not, and he's not what they say he's going to be, we all know what's going to happen. There's going to be another quarterback in here. It's a new ownership. They're probably going to go get one either via trade or free agency, or try to move up and get one of those top two if that's even possible. We all know what's coming down the road. And that's why this year is complicated. Very, very, very complicated. But, you know, when I look at this roster, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. I don't see a team that's going to tank. I don't see a team that's going to be bad. I see a team that's going to be pretty good to potentially better than pretty good if Hal is what they say he's going to be. But that's the show me part of this whole thing.